Hello, my name is Blake Harlow, and I did research this summer in the Dune group at Hope College. One of my projects was constructing digital terrain models from Lake Michigan Dune imagery. First, I will discuss the data that we used for this project. The data was drone imagery of Green Mountain Beach. This data was acquired by flying a drone over the dune area while taking thousands of images. These images are then processed and converted into point clouds, which can consist of more than 100 million points. Each of these points have positional data, such as X, Y, and Z, as well as spectral data, such as red, green, and blue. The elevation data, or Z coordinates, is found by looking at the perspective variations between the drone shots. The goal of this project is to create a digital terrain model, or DTM. A DTM is an elevation map of the entire area that filters out obstructions such as trees or bushes. The first step in creating a DTM is to classify all the ground points within the point cloud. Then, once these ground points are found, we need to fill in the areas between the ground points, or interpolate the ground points. To the right, you can see some of the data that we worked with. Above is an RGB colored image of Green Mountain Beach area. Below is the elevation data for this same area. Next, I will talk about the ground point classification problem. In order to do this problem, I created an algorithm that segments the points into smaller clusters of points. Then, for each cluster of points, I fit a plane and classify all those points within that cluster as either ground or non-ground, depending on how the plane lines up with two specific thresholds. The first threshold is a reduced chi-squared value. This gives a measure of how far away from the plane each point is on average. The second threshold is a gradient threshold. This gradient threshold is calculated by finding the slope with respect to x and the slope with respect to y, squaring both of those and then summing them. This gives a measure of how steep the plane is. Notice that this method is not very precise because it does not consider points individually, but rather considers points as clusters. Overall, though, the clusters were small enough in order to create a level of precision that we needed. On the left, you can see the RGB colored ortho. In the middle, you can see the point cloud colored according to elevation. Then on the right, you can see the ground points that this algorithm found. In order to determine how well this algorithm was doing, I zoomed into an area on the elevation data and outlined trees and bushes in blue, as you can see on the bottom right. Also, I outlined some confirmed ground areas in red. Then, I plotted these polygons along with the resulting ground points that my algorithm found. As you can see, none of the points lie within the blue polygons. This is good because these blue polygons represent areas that are not ground. Next, I will talk about the ground point interpolation problem. Notice that the input of this function must be a list of points, such as those shown in the image below. The output should be a raster, or a grid format. I created two algorithms that do this. Both of them loop through each cell in an output raster. The first one finds the closest endpoints to the center of each cell. Then, it averages the elevation value for these closest endpoints. This is the value that it assigns to that particular cell. The second algorithm fits a plane to the closest endpoints. You can see the results of both of these algorithms below. The second algorithm has a few distinct lines in the output raster, which may not be desired. Field confirmation for these results were not possible this year, partially due to COVID restrictions. I want to thank my mentor, Dr. Darren Stevenson, as well as Dr. Brian Yerk for his help on this project. Also thanks to my fellow Dune research students, Eric Liu and Jack Krebsbach. Finally, thanks to the Hope College Mathematics Department and Michigan Space Grant Consortium for supporting this work.